September the 21st of 2013 began for two journalists as a normal working day.
Well, I was back in Nairobi town, CBD. We were there with my dad. We were going to cover an event.
I would go to Westgate every Saturday. I just happened not to have gone that Saturday, but I had plans to. My parents had just left Java that day.
Jeff Mathenge, a photographer, and John Allan Namu, a seasoned Kenyan journalist, were going about their business as norm would dictate. But a phone call from the least expected of people would forever change the memories of these two journalists on the security of shoppers in the bustling neighborhood of Westlands.
My dad received a call. He was called by one of his friends. She told him that they were at Westgate and some guys who were holding guns and firearms, they entered Westgate. So, and from the look of it, they didn't think it was a robbery.
First, I remember making some of the first phone calls to our newsroom and telling them that this is a terror attack. At the time, the thoughts were that it was a robbery.
The Westgate Mall attack, as it would come to be reported across networks in the world, was now in full fledged.
We arrived when people were running out from Westgate, and we still could hear some gunshots. At that time, we could also see people who had been injured. There's some people who had been run over by a car. From the look of things, we saw it wasn't something that was just something mere. It was something it wasn't something good at the look of it.
The explosion and the smoke that kept coming out of Westgate, and you'd wonder to yourself, what the heck is going on in there?
Four men, armed with AK-47 rifles, would walk into the mall and shoot at almost every person that they encountered. 67 people would die in this horrifying attack.
Where we are, the security guards there, some of them had been injured and some of them had been killed. It wasn't something easy for me to see that. So that's when we decided now to approach Westgate through the parking lot. Upon arrival at the parking lot, we saw people who had been injured.
But here was a situation where terrorists were inside the mall, shooting at people, firing back against security agencies. And you're living in an era where it's live on TV and it's also live online.
So from the look of it, people had been sprayed with bullets. There were kids all over there, and there were some even parents there. And at some point there at the parking lot, we saw there was a grenade that hadn't exploded.
But as the scenes continued to play out, journalists like John Allan and Jeff would stand forth at the mall to deliver minute-to-minute updates of the attack.
As a journalist, it's a very troubling story to cover because there was so little information, there was so much speculation about what was happening inside the mall, and so being that it became a global story worth more than just a 2 minutes bit of coverage on any global network. They were all here. They'd have hourly updates on what was happening. It was also almost 24-hour coverage here. So being able to fill that time with updates, with analysis on an ongoing situation was very difficult. As a Kenyan, it was very troubling. And as an individual, I mean, it was very scary.
Others, like Jeff, would go into the mall in close proximity with the attacking terrorists.
I can tell you how close I was. We were like only a story above them, because I remember you can't go ahead and approach them as they are. You probably wouldn't get out of there alive.
It was on the inside of the mall that Jeff with his father Mathenge would take some of the most heroic photos that would come to be associated with the Westgate attack. Some of these photos would win Mathenge the CNN Africa Journalist Award of the Year. But this experience would cast a shade of darkness on the hearts of the people who sought to relate to the world.
As I entered there, I just remember, I just told God, whatever is happening, just take me out of this place alive.
It would also bring to light some uncomfortable truths that the Kenyan society had to come to terms with after the attack was done.
There were certain things that weren't adding up about how long the siege unfolded, the period of time, the kind of things that we had started hearing from sources who were inside the mall, security agents, police, some soldiers, told us that there was a deeper story there. Came to footage like from a CCTV that depicted our soldiers doing certain things. You have to ask yourself, what really is patriotism? Is patriotism covering the sins of an institution that's supposed to stand for the country, or telling the truth about it? What is more patriotic?
In retrospect now, journalists like John Allen say they could have been better reporting of the crisis, but even then admit that the attack and its magnitude were new to the Kenyan society.
There were a lot of things that we could have done right, but I think the experience itself was something completely alien to the media here.
Gruesome and painful are some of the words that the men who covered the Westgate Mall used to describe the experience of 3 days of being under siege by terrorists. And yet now, 3 years, the mall seemingly has crawled out of one of Kenya's worst terror attacks ever. Business has since returned to normal at the Westgate Mall with even additional security measures. Attempts to get accounts and comments from within the mall were futile, as the management had not yet responded to the request filed by NTV to interview them. In September, it will be 3 years since the attack on Westgate happened, and with it will even be more reflections and lessons for a society that now lives in the constant lookout for the fear of terror. Raymond Mujuni, NTV Uganda, in Nairobi, Kenya.